Hey YouTube, thanks for watching episode 2 of our bareboating adventure. Episode 1 was taken up with getting the preparations together and trying to give you a little bit of a feel for just how to go about setting out on such a holiday. And now we're in the boat, we're on our way, and let the adventure continue. Well, the briefing's done and we are underway to our first anchorage for the night. We're heading for Happy Bay on Long Island, which is about half an hour out of Shute Harbour, a little bit over. And that's our first stop for the night, mainly because we got away a bit late, but nevertheless, looking forward to it. So normally a briefing goes for 4 hours, but we're going to save some of that time by not sailing. We're taking this boat out on a motor-only basis. So without having to teach us anything about the sailing, we were going to save an hour and a half of briefing time, and I had hoped that we'd debate that going a little bit further away. But as it turned out, Sonia was so knowledgeable about the local area that we ended up asking her some more questions and adjusting our itinerary accordingly, that we took pretty much the full 4 hours anyway. Now I've got Kate at the helm because she'll be doing all the driving coming up to moorings because those ropes are a bit heavy to pick up, and I'll be up front doing that. So I just want her to get used to handling the boat. She's doing very well, of course. The instrument panel is very impressive. We've got a large screen GPS plotter in front of us, right in the middle. Flanking that, there's a couple of instruments that you can configure to display just about anything you want to know about the boat. After a couple of days of staring at these defaults, I did have a bit of a look to see what was available. And I must say, I found the selection slightly overwhelming. I'm not one of these people who needs to know how much ash is in the ashtray. I just want to know what I need to know to keep the boat safe and nothing more. I found that everything on the main GPS display was pretty much covered that situation. There's alarms that sound if anything's wrong with the engine, and I can then check them out. But fortunately that didn't happen. Down below that on each side of the steering wheel are the basic engine instruments. There's no moorings in Happy Bay, so we're anchored up for the night. I've chosen to anchor a good way out. The bottom shells off rather slowly, so we're not in an excessive amount of water. We've got plenty of anchor chain out. We're going to be nice and solid for the night. It's been almost exactly 40 years since I was in charge of a boat over 40 feet. So with that in mind, I've decided to err very much on the side of caution, at least until I get a feel for how the boat behaves. We're planning to get up and have an early start in the morning and head for Stonehaven, which was to be our original destination for the first night had we managed to get a morning brief. Now I just had to slip this next bit of footage in to show you what's possible with a little bit of ingenuity and the cooking facilities on board. I was suitably impressed, that's for sure. Getting all the luxuries at home here. Got coffee and freshly made hot cake, courtesy of Kate. It's early morning in Happy Bay and we're looking out here on South Mole Island. That's a little lump of rock. Just to the right of South Mole Island is Denman Island. That'll be Whitsunday and Hook Island, you can see through the channel there. Over there is, let me think, Daydream Island. Just off that way, and of course that's the mainland over there, and you can see Shute Harbour with all the boats in it, I hope. You can see the jetty from the resort sticking out into the water there. Now the resort's closed at the moment, it's been closed since the cyclone, and I'm not exactly sure what the plans are. Most of the resorts up here are closed. Hamilton Island is still operating, but the rest are closed for renovations. They're taking advantage of the insurance payout for the damage from the cyclone to do some renovations and extensions, from what the locals have been telling me. So we're heading up towards Stonehaven. That's Hook Island in front of us, and Daydream, sorry, not Daydream, Hayman. No, yeah, Hayman. Just over to the left of that in the distance. And the interesting thing here is the boat's so big, I can't even see the nose of the boat. It's up there somewhere. You can just sort of see it ends about where that red pole comes down, and then that's the bit behind us. It is one huge boat. We're on autopilot at the moment, which is just great. I wouldn't leave the helm station while we're on autopilot, but you don't have to sit there and hang onto the wheel, and it keeps you heading the way you want to, so quite impressive. I haven't had that in a boat before. Sitting at about 1800 revs on each engine and doing 7.4 knots, 7.3 knots now. You're sitting just over 7 knots anyway, which is pretty good. Once we were safely on the mooring in Stonehaven, my mind turned to fishing. Unfortunately, it didn't turn to much else, and I went out without any real camera equipment. Because my wife isn't really into fishing, I also went out by myself, and my only fishing buddy is that turtle in the middle of the shot. Now, I did catch a couple of beautiful red and blue spotted coral trout. Really, really beautiful fish. Too small to keep, I had to throw them back, but again, my brain was in neutral and I didn't take a picture. But I did get a picture of this little fellow. He's too small to keep. He's only about 20 centimetres, 22, somewhere around that area. So I got to put him back. Beautiful fish, all those colours. I better get him back in the water. The next fish I pulled up was a very nice red-throated emperor. He measured out at 45 centimetres and 2.5 kilos, which is 5 pounds. I didn't get to measure him or weigh him until I got back to the boat because I had forgotten my tape. But I could see he was legal size, no worries. 38 centimetres is your low limit on these fish. And that ended my fishing for the day because we didn't need to catch any more than we could eat. And that was a couple of days' meals there. I'll just take a minute to show you some of the domestic aspects of life on board the boat. This one has a twin sink, and brilliant idea here for a drying area. It's got a lid on it. You stack all your plates in there to dry and put your lid on it, and while you're going away and enjoy a swim, come back and all your plates are nice and dry, and in the meantime they're out of sight. The wife loves it. Yeah, another neat aspect here is a rubbish bin. We've got a lid here to drop things in from the top, and for the bigger stuff you can slide the whole thing out. The boat's been really well thought out for living. Had a little bit of trouble finding the rear cabin lights. Every other light in the boat has a switch in this cabin, but the rear lights, out in the cockpit rather, you've actually got to go up to the driver's station to turn them on, which really tricked us up initially. But they're down at the bottom of the driver's station. You turn them on there. This is dawn at Stonehaven Bay. This is our third day on the water, although you can't count the first one because there wasn't much of it. You can see why it's called Stonehaven Bay. The rock formations here is just all rock. What you can see in between the trees, that is. And it's a beautiful haven from any wind from the easterly direction. You can see how calm the water is. It took us 2.5 hours to get here from Happy Bay yesterday. It was a really good run. The tide was with us. When you are sailing a slow ship, like a sailing boat under motor, then you have to watch out for the tide, because had the tide been against us, it could have taken us twice as long. A bit of cloud out today, but it's not going to be too bad. Should see a lot of sun as well. We're going to head on over to Butterfly Bay this morning, have a bit of a snorkel and maybe lunch, and then move on to probably Blue Pearl Bay on Hayman Island and spend the night there. Well, this is what morning in paradise looks like. Sun's well up now. The island itself is still in shadow, but by Jove, it's beautiful. We came up here in November, and every anchorage we called in at or drove past had plenty of room left for more boats, with the exception of Tongue Bay and Charlie's Bay near Whitehaven. All the moorings on them were full. Good time of year to come. One guy just leaving, he's off for his day. We'll be following out soon. Just got to have some breakfast. You can see the Hayman Island resort from the Stonehaven mooring. This is just a view of it as we're pulling out of Stonehaven. The resort itself is closed for renovations at the moment, and it has been closed since the cyclone last year. I believe the resort's going to reopen early in the new year, at least that's what the locals are telling us. We've also been told that all the coral in Blue Pearl Bay, which is on Hayman Island, has been wiped out by the cyclone last year, and we've decided to bypass Blue Pearl Bay and go somewhere else instead. This is just coming around the northern end of Cook Island. I still can't get over how rocky this island is. You can see some rocks sticking out into the water a fair way there. Some boats trying his luck to fish around the rocks. It should be a good spot for them. But I'm giving them a suitably wide berth, even though I've got heaps of water under me, and I know it shelves down very quickly from the island. Now, while I'm staying well clear of the rocks, I'm not really all that far from the island, and if you have a look at the depth sounder reading, you can see I'm in 41 metres of water. So that just gives an indication of how quickly it shelves down from the island and how deep it actually goes. 41 metres of water for the non-metric among you is about 130-140 feet, so it's a decent amount of water under us. That's Butterfly Bay that you can see just starting to appear on the other side of that rocky point. Now, during the trip we've been talking about it, we've decided that we're going to bypass Butterfly Bay and go a little bit further to Maureen's Cove. One thing I would mention about Butterfly Bay, if you're going to go in there, make sure you read 100 Magic Miles where it deals with entering Butterfly Bay, because the reef extends a long way out from the shore on the western side of the bay, and it isn't marked with a beacon or anything, so you really need to read about it and find out what your entry lines are so that you don't come to grief. Now, just the other side of those rocks where the boat is fishing, there's the start of a reef that goes into Butterfly Bay, and that's the one you've got to watch out for coming out from the western side. When you're entering the bay, you don't run aground on it. But everyone says that that is some really, really good snorkeling there. Now, we're going to miss that, but it doesn't matter a lot to me because they say the same about Maureen's Cove as well. Now, we're safely moored in Maureen's Cove. The mooring operation is quite neat, the way Kate drives the boat up to it, and I pick up the rope. I had hoped to video it, but I was unable to set up the camera to capture decent footage of it, and we didn't have a camera operator. So unfortunately we missed out on that. Perhaps next time. And the reef extends all the way out here. From that point there, where there is a triangular reef protection marker, all the way around to that point there where there's another triangular reef protection marker, and the reef protection markers mean no one can anchor inside in this cave, inside a line between those protection markers, and that's to protect the coral for snorkelers. Now, Maureen's Cove's one of quite a few places up here where you aren't allowed to anchor anywhere over the reef. They provide quite a few moorings, so you can get in close over the reef, but only if you tie up to the moorings. Anchoring is forbidden because the anchor damages the coral, and the anchor chain, if the boat swings around, the anchor chain also damages the coral. The chain's pretty heavy, and the boat's got a lot of force on it. So you need to stay outside the reef protection markers if you are going to anchor. We'd hardly gotten on the mooring and stopped the engines before we had some visitors come over to the boat. Now, at the moment they're saying not to throw bait or feed scraps into the water. I think that's mainly because of a couple of shark attacks we've had up here. But by the looks of these fish, they're pretty used to getting fed by the tourists. They're either hand fed by snorkelers or stuff tossed off the boat, because they certainly come around looking for a free feed. They're angelfish, in case you can't recognise them. We can see them very clearly with Polaroid sunglasses on, but I'm not real sure how that's going to come through on the video. One thing I will say about this mooring in Mooring Cove, and that is how close to the shore they are. Like, the moorings are plenty far apart for the swing of a boat. I'm not worried about the distance apart they are, but it certainly gave me pause when I was coming in to see just how close to the reef these moorings are. No doubt they've been surveyed and they're quite safe, but coming into them I had to keep reminding myself that they had been surveyed as I got closer and closer to the reef. There's absolutely no doubt that they're much closer to the edge of the reef than I would have dared to anchor the boat. Well, I think this is long enough for one video. In the next video we're going to do some snorkeling and move on a little bit further into the holiday. I know I can be a little bit long-winded, but I do hope you found some of the things I've had to share with you interesting. Until next time.